these notes that we started the last class, this is the only document that you're going to be working with, but I wanted to record a quick video just to first refresh you on the notes that we took last time and then walk you through the steps of what you're going to need to do today. We're working with sentences that have two clauses, and a clause being a subject and a verb. And when we have these if statements, we're going to have two different verb tenses in the same sentence, and we have to pay attention to which tenses we're using. So we can either have the combination of the present and the future going together in the same sentence, or we can have the combination of the imperfect and conditional going together in the same sentence. And it doesn't matter if you have present then future or future and then present, because we can take the sentence, if I go to the store, I will buy something. Or we can turn it around and say, I will buy something if I go to the store, and put the future first. Both are grammatically correct. What we need to know is if you already have the present tense in the sentence, then you need the future. If you already have the future in the sentence, then you need the present tense. Same thing with imperfect and conditional. You can put the conditional first. The important thing is if you have the imperfect, you need the conditional. If you have the conditional, you need the imperfect. So we filled this out last class with the sort of cheat sheet of the verb tenses to be able to identify them. The present tense, there's no easy, convenient way to identify it. We have ER endings, we have IR endings, we have RE endings, we have irregular verbs. There's no consistent stem, no consistent ending. So it's going to be a process of elimination. The imperfect has the AIS set of endings, and it comes from the new conjugation of the present tense with the ONS removed. So you have a verb like aller was nous allons. We drop the ONS, and ALL is that stem. So what we're going to end up with is a stem that does not have R as the last letter. And that's used to differentiate it from the conditional, because the conditional and the imperfect have the same endings. The difference is the conditional has a stem that always has the letter R as the last letter. The future has that same stem with R as the last letter, and it has the AI set of endings. So this is a three-step process, what we're going to do down here. And this, to explain this first, this activity, these 10 sentences, this is what is due today. This is what you need to complete and turn in today. The part that's on the bottom of this document, and I didn't want to change the document because you already had this in your possession, but I made this as two separate assignments on Google Classroom. So what's down here, I'll explain this at the end of the video. This is extra credit. This can be due Friday. If you're comfortable with it and you want to do it today and turn it in, great. I'll still give you extra credit. But if you want to wait until this part gets returned to you with corrections to make sure that you've done it correctly and you've got the right idea, you could wait for that and then complete this later and get this part turned in for Friday to get those extra credit points. So what we're doing here, there are 3 steps that we have to go through for each sentence. So step number 1, we have to find and circle the conjugated verb. So we have 2 clauses here. So if we take, this is one clause, and this is one clause. And each clause has a subject and a verb. So we've got je as a subject here, and we've got the verb ave. Oh, let me do this the way I wrote it in the directions. We're going to circle the verb. So ave is the conjugated verb. In the second clause, we have je as a subject, and travailler, the verb, is going to go there. So we're going to conjugate travailler into that blank. So we got a subject and a verb, je, ave, and then a subject verb, je, and then the conjugation of travailler. So we did step number 1. We found the conjugated verb, ave. We have to determine the tense of the verb that is conjugated. So still looking at this ave, the verb that's already conjugated, we're going to go up to this chart, and we have to figure out from that conjugation which verb tense is it. Now, first thing we're going to notice is we've got the ending. It's the AIS ending. So that could be this AIS, or it could be this AIS. We've got 2 options, so we have to figure out, then we look at the stem, AV. That is an ending that, or sorry, a stem that does not have R as the last letter, so we must have the imperfect. We've got the AIS ending and a stem that doesn't end in R. Oops, I erased too much there. Okay, so we've got the imperfect. I would strongly encourage you to label these. That verb tense is the imperfect, so we go back up here. Imperfect and conditional are a pair. So when we have the imperfect in one blank, we need the conditional in the other blank. When down the road this is graded, I would strongly encourage you to label these, because if you'll get partial credit for having the correct verb tense identified, and then the rest of the credit coming from conjugating it correctly. So if you tell me that it was the conditional and then it's conjugated incorrectly, then I can still give you that partial credit. If you don't label that it's supposed to be the conditional and you conjugate it incorrectly and I can't tell what it is, then I can't give any points at all. So I would strongly encourage that you label that as the conditional. So then travailler, we know that for the conditional we need stem that ends in R, and then we need the AIS ending. Well, this is not one of our irregular stems. So to get the stem that ends in R, we're going to use the whole infinitive. And then our ending for the conditional is AIS. So travaillerai. I'm not going to ask you to translate these sentences at this point in time. We might do that down the road. But this sentence would mean if I had, right, imperfect is the past tense, if I had a lot of money, travailler is the verb to work, I would not work. So conditional, would, I would not work. If I had a lot of money, I would not work. And I'll walk through one more example with you, and then you'll complete 3 through 10 for the assignment. I'm going to erase all these notes because they're kind of in the way here. Okay, so we have to find a verb in the sentence. The easiest way to find a verb is to look for subject pronouns, because a verb is going to be the word that comes right after subject pronoun. So we've got subject pronouns here. Obviously, pouvoir is going here into this blank. So this is our conjugated verb. So if we go up to the chart to identify that, we see that right here we have A as an option, okay, because that ends in the letter A. However, this A right here has to come after a stem that ends in R, and that's not the case here. We only have the letter A, as the word, so that means it's the present tense. It doesn't fit any other category, so we've got the present tense, and that's the present tense of avoir. So we've got the present tense here. Present and future go together. So that means this blank, we need a conjugation of the future. And pouvoir, we know, has an irregular future stem, P-O-U-R-R, and then the future ending for elle is A. So si elle a 18 ans, elle pourra voter. If she is 18 years old, or literally if she has 18 years, she will be able to vote. So again, one more time, the part that you're doing for a grade, the part that needs to be turned in today by 2:45 is up to the purple line. It's sentences 3 through 10. This is your first attempt at it. It's going to be based on completion, and I will return it to you with corrections made. Then, for extra credit, you have the option, if you choose, to complete these sentences. You're doing basically the same thing. The only thing is you have to finish the sentence somewhat creatively. It doesn't have to be super creative, but you have to think about how you want to complete the sentence. And you can either do this today if you feel comfortable, or you can wait until you get your feedback and then complete it and turn it in for Friday. So it's the same thing that we're doing here. We have half the sentence. We're given one clause. So we have to, we find the subject je, so we find the verb, gagne. Si je gagne la loterie. And you can use word reference if you need to for the meanings of these sentences. But si je gagne la loterie, if I win the lottery. So gagne, it ends in E. So if we look at this chart up here, none of these endings here end in E, so we can't have any of those tenses. So we must have the present tense. So si je gagne, if I win the lottery, present tense. So you're going to complete the sentence with something in the future. I will buy, I will go, I will travel, I will do. Whatever it is that you want to say, but it will be something in the present tense. Something in the future tense. And again, a good idea to label it. You probably won't need the second line. The second line is just if your sentence doesn't fit on the first line. When we used to do these things on paper, then it usually took up more space, but I've found on the iPad people have smaller handwriting. But don't think that you have to use that second line for a translation or anything like that. So you're just going to complete that sentence with a verb in the future tense. And again, turn it in today or turn it in Friday, whichever works better for you.